All right. Welcome, rock and roll. How you doing there on a beautiful Saturday? Welcome to the Scorched Earth Political Podcast. I'm your host, John. And if you could kindly enough, hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot to us. A lot of people putting in a lot of hard work. And I will direct you to the quilt above my head. Yeah. That is from my beautiful mother. I asked, first of all, the genius behind this is Stacy. When we were forming this entity, whatever, I asked her, I said, well, can you make something? She said, well, let me see what I can do. Now, literally, if I had, I'm gonna do something for you right here. We are gonna go full podcast, okay? This is something you're not gonna see on any other podcast, okay? If John was doing it, it would look something like this. Can you even see that? It's a little too bright, maybe. You see that? It's a little circle with some squiggly marks. If this was sex ed, you'd think that's a sperm, right? That's how terrible I am. God bless Stacy. She made this beautiful thing. Once I showed it to my mom, because I was blown away. Stacy was like, well, you like it? I was like, oh my God, that's better than the show. And so I showed it to my mom about a week ago, and my mom is a quilter. I mean, that lady gets up at 3, 4 in the morning every day, and she quilts for 3 hours. My dad comes in to bother her. Hey, buddy, 65 years of marriage, you back off. This is quilting time. This is where I get serious. This is my time. You back off. Oh, man, let me tell you something. He backs off. He don't mess with the hungry lioness. He don't mess with it. When she's quilting, that's her time. So I asked her, could you make something? And man, look at that. I'm just in awe of how incredible it looks. It's amazing. I got my mom, got Stacy. They got all this talent. Obviously, they took all mine because I have none. Obviously, with my mom, it skips a generation since I didn't have since I didn't have any kids, it's going to skip forever. that talent ain't going nowhere, right? I'm going to tell a little funny story about my mom. I think I have shared it on one of the life segments. If you've caught it before, you get you're lucky. You get a bonus, right? So my mom and dad, I've been married for, like I said, 65 years. Weird, I'm 67. No. And so me and my mom were in the back room of their house. My dad was off doing whatever he was doing. And my dad was a gambler. I like to gamble. Not crazy, but I like to gamble. My mom is not a gambler. She just isn't. She's the kind of person, like, she makes money. She'd rather go spend it on a dress, on a pair of shoes. She put it in a slot machine. Come on, man. That ain't her gig, That ain't her bag. That's what they used to say. For all you whippersnappers out there, that's what you say. That ain't my bag, okay? Get in your hip to what the old folk used to say. And so we're in the back room, and the lottery, California lottery at that time, was $500 million. And I said, man, Mom, that lottery is pretty incredible. She goes, oh, yeah, that's nice. Didn't even think twice about it. And I said, would you even think about playing it? And she goes, I don't know, maybe, I guess. That's code for no. And I said, you want to hear a crazy statistic? And she says, what's that? That 90% of the married couples that win the lottery get divorced within 1 year. Yeah. True facts. word, 100, whatever the kids say. I don't even know. I'm so far out of it. I think 100 was actually 10 years ago. But I finally figured out the emoji, so I'm working my way there. And she looked at me and she said, for $500 million, it wouldn't be worth losing your dad. And I looked her in the eye, as sincere as I could say anything in my life, and I said, F that. We can get a new dad, we can get a better dad for 1/10 of that. I said, forget him, think about me. She didn't even chuckle. Maybe she thought I was serious. And I was. I love you, Mom. Thank you for the beautiful quilt. Thank you, Stacy, for designing everything. I'm constantly in your debt for all the amazing things you've done for this show. You can even see the little Bernie sign I put up. All right. We're off and running for this beautiful Saturday. We're taking no prisoners. We're telling no lies. And what are we going to start with today? We're going to start with one of our favorite subjects, J.D. Vance. God bless you, J.D. Vance. And let's just go with a little quick report.
The Second Lady was booked to travel. Her husband joined her at short notice.
Vice President Vance, how's it feel?
But Greenland gave America's Vice President the cold shoulder.
How we doing?
Just off the top of my head, I wonder if J.D. Vance's wife, Usha, would trade him for a lottery win. Just saying.
It's cold as here. Nobody told me.
A visit to troops stationed here was the only engagement for a second-in-command on maneuvers.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Sending a clear signal to the country that retains sovereignty of the world's largest island.
Now, initially, this was supposed to be a tour of Greenland by the Second Lady, Usha. And then all of a sudden he decided, I guess, maybe after some bad things came out in that signal chat, that he better get on over there. He better start getting on the Trump agenda, right? But initially he was going to go to the capital, Nuuk. Yeah, Nuuk. And that wasn't going to go too well. They were worried about violent protest. Let me tell you something. The Danish people, Denmark, Greenland, these are some peace-loving human beings. They make Canada seem like warmongers, right? And so they didn't want to have the optics of that. So JD went to a military base 3 hours north, space base it's called. Don't even know what that means. And decided in the confines of him and 50 U.S. soldiers, he was going to give some really outlandish remarks. Let's cue it up. Yeah, let's see what JD has to say. Come on, JD.
The message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. You have underinvested in the people of Greenland, and you have underinvested in the security architecture of this incredible, beautiful landmass.
So a guy from America is saying that Denmark, which has had sovereignty over Greenland forever, hasn't been treating them well. He has decided that they haven't treated them well. That, they need to have Big Brother U.S. look over them because, hey, we're the only ones who can take care of them, even though Denmark's been doing it literally forever.
Filled with incredible people. That has to change. What we think is going to happen is that the Greenlanders are going to choose through self-determination to become independent of Denmark, and then we're going to have conversations with the people of Greenland from there.
He said he didn't envisage military force being necessary.
Listen to that. He didn't envision military force. All I can tell you is right now, Pig Hegseth, he's doing a signal chat about Greenland. I'd be worried.
But President Trump hasn't ruled that out. And with a $2.5 trillion treasure trove of minerals under the snow, islanders are suspicious about America's motivation.
We've always looked at America like the nice big brother to help you out. And now it's like the big brother's bullying you.
I feel like US is forcing us to dance.
Yes.
Like, come, you're going to dance with me now. It would be so much nicer if they were like, would you like to dance?
That skepticism has been fueled by the Russian president telling them to take Donald Trump's proposition seriously.
Now, this is really an interesting thing. Because as you're going to see later in this video, Trump is warning against Russia. But now the Russian president is saying, you know, you oughta really listen to what the U.S. is saying. Yeah, thanks for the help there, Putin. Thanks for the help. You know, I don't know what that is.
And the US president isn't backing down.
We need Greenland, very importantly, for international security. We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can't. If you look at Greenland right now, if you look at the waterways, you have Chinese and Russian ships all over the place.
Now, try and explain that to me. 15 seconds ago, Putin is saying, yeah, Greenland, you ought to think about going under the U.S. umbrella. Now he's saying the reason we need Greenland is because Russia is a threat. Huh. That's a first. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Something the president said doesn't make sense? Huh. Let me continue. You know?
This is not just history. It is destiny.
And the White House is now engaging in a charm offensive by posting an emotive ad online.
Security for the future. America stands with Greenland.
Very few people took his comments about this seriously. But the fact that the president is still talking about Greenland, that the vice president has been to a security base
it becomes reality. If I was were the people of Greenland, I'd take this very seriously. And like I've said before, and I will continue to be the only guy out there saying this, I think this is because of global warming. I do. I really believe the Canada thing and the Greenland thing is because the GOP realizes literally in 50 years, the bottom half of the United States is going to be unlivable. And we need to find a place that is cooler. But they can't admit global warming is true because that goes contrary to the bullshit they've been saying for the last 30 years. Just saying. Also, NATO contributed over 2.5% of their GDP to NATO. Denmark did, to NATO last year. And this year they plan on going over 3%. Yeah. All right. We got some other odd things in the news. Seems the head of the United States Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, department responsible for assuring the safety and effectiveness of vaccines, has resigned. According to the resignation letter obtained by CNN, Dr. Peter Marks, director of the agency's Center for Biologics, I don't even know what that means, Evaluation and Research, was given the choice to resign or be fired. Mark's resignation takes effect April 5th. There's another guy going to be unemployed. Boy, this Trump administration, they're doing a bang-up job with unemployment. In his letter that CNN obtained, he said, it has become clear that truth and transparency are not desired by the secretary, talking about Robert Kennedy, but rather he wishes subservient confirmation of his misinformation and lies. And what he's talking about is the vaccine BS, right? Marks is obviously a very accomplished gentleman. He was instrumental in carrying out the Operation Warp Speed under Trump, the federal government's COVID-19 vaccine development program. He has overseen the approval of more recent vaccines, which I was unaware of, including the first influenza vaccine for self or caregiver administration. Wow. Give yourself a shot, providing a new option for protection against the seasonal flu. Wow, good for you. Nice little kudo on the way out the door. Mark's forced resignation and other recent moves by the HHS drew a wave of warnings from health experts. What a shock do you think that is? Huh? You know, the people who are trying to keep us safe. Maybe we can get to the Chinese alternative medicine where root bone and rhino horn can keep us safe. This is what happens when you hire a 20-year virulent anti-vaccine activist who continues to deny the science that vaccines don't cause autism and put him in a position of influence. Dr. Paul Offit, director of the Vaccine Education Center at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Wow, another learned academician disputing what Robert Kennedy. And, you know, Robert Kennedy is erroneously said that vaccines cause autism. And there's no scientific data to say that. But I will say this, and this is where they're totally misleading the public. I'm going to give you an example. I had a dear friend back in the day, and she had fibromyalgia her whole life. Do you know that the AMA did not recognize fibromyalgia as an actual and legitimate disease? I think that's its classification. Malady, let's call it a malady, until 1995. And she told me as she was growing up, 1980, 1985, doctors told her it was all in her head. And fibromyalgia is chronic pain. It's a chronic pain syndrome. And what I'm getting to is autism, the numbers are going up. They are. But what's happened has, and obviously, if somebody out there wants to write a comment, somebody very intelligent, like our great listener, Crystal, who's in the medical field, that the reason the rate of autism is going up, not because necessarily autism rates are going up, but because they are diagnosing it sooner. Just like cancer, just like other things that they are learning through the advent of the journey of medical science. I remember going to school back in the day. I went there on my horse. I went there in the horse-drawn carriage. I went there with the Fred Flintstone mobile. But, you know, kids who had AHAD or dyslexia or whatever, they were just told, hey, you just got to study harder. They weren't acknowledged that they had a learning impediment. And what I'm saying is, we are discovering cancer sooner. We're discovering all kinds of these maladies. Now, the benefit is that it gives them more time to treat it. You know, before, you know, if you had cancer, usually it had progressed to the point where it was very difficult to defeat. Now, when you get a cancer diagnosis, it's usually in the incipient stages, typically, maybe through blood markers or x-rays or whatever it is. I'm not that knowledgeable about it. But it gives them more time, more options, more things to do to save your life. Okay? So when they say also, well, the rate of cancer is up, well, maybe that's true. I'm not going to sit here and fight about that. But I also think they're discovering things quicker and sooner. And it's that's why the survivability rate is up so high. So, you know, Robert Kennedy is going to, and one of the other doctors, I'm not going to even talk about it, one of the other doctors said they were going to shoehorn studies and data to fit their narrative that autism is caused by vaccines. And what's going to happen, we're going to have another measles outbreak like we have in Texas and New Jersey right now. Good luck and Godspeed, right? All right, couple more things in the news. Trying to keep this a little more upbeat today. I don't want to get too negative. I've been accused this week of being a little down, and I have to say, I'm going to queue up that Howard Lufnick thing, I think, tomorrow, because I just want to see it again. I just want to see that smug prick. I just want to punch him. I just want to punch him in the head. So Elon Musk, Friday evening, announced that he had sold his social media company X to Baby XAI, his artificial intelligence company. He sold it for $45 billion. He paid $44 billion, but now there's $13 billion in debt. Wink, wink. I'm really believing that's all it is. Actually, it's probably $48 billion in debt. You ever see Ocean's 12, where Brad Pitt spends $12 million on a hotel, and they say, "How much do you owe?" And he goes, $18 million. Not just what I paid, but I owe an extra $6 million. That's Elon Musk, right? In December, Fidelity Mutual Fund estimated that X was only worth $12 billion. I'm sure that Elon Musk thing is really, really true. All right, we're going to talk one final thing. Stock markets cratered on Friday. Seems like the stocks tumbled and a broad sell-off gripped Wall Street as investors digested stubborn inflation data along with the weakening economy, consumer sentiment in the economy. The Dow tumbled, now get these numbers, and closed lower by 716 points, or 1.7% of the entire Dow. Out of 100%, it fell 1.7 in one day. My 401k is looking great. Anybody want to start a GoFundMe for me? I could use it. All right, I'm just saying. The broader S&P 500 fell 1.97. We almost cracked that 2% in one day. One day. And the NASDAQ composite fell 2.7%. All right, things are going good. Maybe, when we're all unemployed, we can live in a big homeless camp in the middle of Arizona. The S&P is down more than 5% this year. The benchmark index is on track for the first losing quarter since September 2023. It's nice, 18 months ago. Its worst quarter since September 2022. Yeah. Things are going great. I'm not going to tell you to pull a Jim Cramer and sell all your stocks, but maybe you ought to think about it. I'll be thinking about it this weekend. I'm going to tell you that right now. All right. If you could, thank you for listening. Hit that like and subscribe button. And don't be sad because we're going away. Be happy because we're in this together. I love you all. I appreciate you all. And we are going to win. We're on the right side of history. We're on the right side of morality. Just have faith. Just have faith. All right. I will see you tomorrow.